Welcome to the Dance to Heal podcast. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how life is a dance. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that mind and body-connected movement is vital to healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I created Dance to Heal Wellness featuring the Spotlight Confidence Formula and also authored the best-selling award-winning book, Outside In Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new ways to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now.
You start weighing these things, it's okay, right? I like what I do as a aerospace, manager and whatnot. I was doing a training today and I loved it. I love talking nerd science to people that don't even know what the heck I'm talking about, but trying to just like educate them so they get excited about the process, and that kind of amps me up. But that's what I'd sort of recommend for those frustrated with where they're at. Just start, again, I'm going to keep saying it, practice that internal dialogue. Start journaling. Start having more intimate conversations, maybe with a therapist, maybe with your significant other, about what is it that you're sort of really, truly saying on the inside. And I think that's going to shed a lot of light as to why and how you think where you're at now today.
Oh, that's brilliant, Tony. I love that. And it brings to mind for a lot of my audience where the majority of us are in our later halves of our lives where we're truly taking stock of actually what we really want. And I'm going to extend it because even my fraternal twins who are in their late 20s are also tackling this post-COVID, which I refer to as the panini, right? The world stopped on its axis, and even now, even when this episode gets released, we'll still be in this oil crisis where nothing's coming through the strap. And so a lot of people now are being encouraged to stay at home because, just transportation's costing what resources we have, right? What does one really want? And not to necessarily confuse that with the reality that your passion may not be what earns you money to pay rent. Right?
Yeah, no. So this is a story that I think of, and I think I'm probably going to butcher this from Shakespeare, but it's like thinking there's something neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so, right? I think that was Shakespeare. But essentially, there's a story that I heard, not Shakespeare, but a different from a different source that I don't remember, else I would cite it. But essentially, this person gets a horse, right? Mm-hmm. And this person's all excited. They're like, "Oh, this is the greatest thing that could have, happened to me. This is what I wanted. I wanted a horse to ride around." And so the person's riding the horse. And the neighbor looks over and says, as this person's so excited, "Well, how do you know if this is a good thing?" Right? And so the person's riding this horse and a week goes by and the horse gets too excited, jumping over the fence or whatever, and throws the person off, and the person breaks their leg. And now the person's saying, "Oh, this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to me. I didn't want this, right? I don't want a broken leg," screaming and crying. And the neighbor simply looks over and says, "Well, how do you know if this is a good or bad thing?" And so another week goes by and the local militia are enlisting for the upcoming campaign in a war. And because this person has a broken leg, they can't go. Now, for those in the service, I'm not saying that don't go to the service. My point of the whole story is that we don't know what we really want. I'm going to be honest with you. I hate the question of where do you see yourself in 5 years? I have no idea. Like, I don't think we should know these things. Yes, we have a certain trajectory. I think want is, I think I look at it more now in terms of what do I need? And I root that down in Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yeah. I know there's people that sort of object to his theory, but to me, yeah, I know, Jenny, I'm all for it. But, I say to myself, it's not necessarily what I want. It's what do I need? But then also, what do I value, right? I talked about, a little earlier, the definition of value being the standards for which you're to live your life. But I think when you start really understanding what is it that you really need? Do I really need a Dunkin' Donuts coffee every morning? Do I really need a truck that's, a V8 that's consuming all the gas, that then I have a 10-minute commute, it's like when you start realizing that, I think that's going to curve sort of what you want.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Because I've always struggled with what do you want? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm the generation where I didn't even get what I needed. So how can I know what I want? Right. And I love that. I love that reminder about what does your body need? Like for me, it's always the focus. We do this outside-in approach, and it's not outside yourself, just your outside of your body. Like your body is your outside. And what does your outside need? Water, sleep,
Yep. Shelter.
shelter, right?
Yep, yep.
Clothing, unless you're in a really tropical area and less clothing, and you need nutrition. And then you also need to be heard when you talk about your feelings.
Yes.
That's community, right? And some of these basic needs, some people don't even give themselves that. We
But you
somehow,
hit,
right? What is that, Tony?
yeah, you hit on a good thing, Jenny. I feel like there's a definite need that people don't feel listened, right? And I think that's what I love about podcasts, especially with people like yourself. Jenny was on the Work Sucks, but I Like It podcast, which is awesome. She did, I love that conversation. But it's like, to me, we need to start creating these spaces where we can be heard. And I don't mean going on Facebook and shouting and whatever you're doing by the way, I'm not even on Facebook, but on these social media platforms and getting all this attention. That's not what I mean by being heard. By being heard, it's really this like sort of concept of like active listening, where you're truly listening to that person to the point where you're able to like genuinely respond and have a conversation. That's the type of conversations we need to start having today as a society.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, and I want to tie back to when you were saying we need to be listening to ourselves, because that's how you start to practice as an art. Because if we can listen to ourselves, most of us are so used to ignoring ourselves, then it's almost impossible to listen to the person right in front of you, right? Because you're so busy trying to deafen your own voice, you don't even hear the person in front of you. I love that. That's really been something that I've noticed, that as I've done more self-care and my clients do, they can hear their own voices quicker, and they really then in turn hear the voices outside of them faster and more meaningfully. Gary Vee just did a post talking about how he's really tired of making up new words, because he was like, positively is not a dead thing. Like there's nothing wrong with being positive. And he was like, this toxic positivity, that's delusion. It's like, don't give it
Yeah,
new
right.
words, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's a difference between working hard at something that you love to do and it's worth the work, versus working at something that really has no future, but you're going to delude yourself into thinking
Mm,
that it's where you're meant to be.
yeah.
So I'm going to tie this back to the whole listen to yourself and take care of yourself. That's how you'll know whether or not you're on the right path, right, Tony? Because sometimes
Yes,
you could,
absolutely.
I've spent so much money on mentors that didn't understand me. And because they didn't understand me, I listened to them and was directed in the wrong directions. And I really would like everyone to learn from this. Like, you actually know your best. Like, you know yourself best.
For sure.
And
I mean, I,
really
I
listen,
do.
right?
Yeah, but there is that element. So I've seen many therapists, I've had coaches. I think like sometimes we do need that external like view sometimes, because we get trapped right in our own heads,
Mhm.
and it's like, but I really think there's power to music, because I think like, when we hear the song lyrics, it's almost like we're saying, wow, they get me. Right. So I love the concept of like using music as sort of a medium to understand ourselves. Right. And I'm not saying like, oh, you like country, haha, or you like rap. It's more like, why does it resonate with you? Right. Why do the lyrics touch you? Why do, the skills of this musician like influence you? But music is just so powerful in that regard.
Yes, I love that. I love that reminder that, yes, sometimes you need an outer person to kind of reflect back to you, right? Like a mirror, to make sure that you really are hearing what you need to hear. Because I've noticed that most of us, we do heal better in community and in settings that it's not super clinical,
But you
right?
touched on such an interesting thing too, right? So this idea of community, and I remember like I forget who I was talking to, Jenny, but it was something about like online versus offline community. And there's a lot of things like promoting online community. I guess in some sense this is online, right? We're like, you're pixels to me right now on this screen. I know you're another human being, but it's like this concept of community is so fascinating to me. I guess I'm still trying to figure it out myself today, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially from the dance side. But it's like, to me, what I've learned from a yoga perspective, I teach yoga and I practice yoga as well, is that yoga is so awesome today in that, there's this rhythm to it where you can find that internal chatter. And there's also this sense of community where it's safe to explore that, right? If people fall in a pose, it's okay. We're so nervous of like how we make mistakes outside of these walls. oh man, I'm going to get on social media for a bad thing and go viral for that, or everybody's watching me and I'm going to look terrible or whatever. And it's like, no, we're all human. We make mistakes, we goof up. We need these spaces to, again, learn about ourselves, if you will, and get that good feedback. So it's not deluding us of this like false reality.
I love that. I love
But
that. I love the fact that since the Panini, we now have more online resources. That, they've set
mhm,
up all the groundwork for it, because there is something to be said that you and I can converse, and we're on different sides of the country. I think this is amazing. And at the same time,
absolutely.
nothing will ever replace you and I actually looking in each other's face and shaking hands or giving a hug to each other. There's a different energetic exchange with that. So one would never replace the other. And I would always prefer physical. And not all of us can afford that to fly towards each other, you know?
True. True.
Because I was just at an event with Charlene Johnson in Vegas, and I was in a room with 800 other women. I met maybe 10 of them. But that energetic exchange was incredible because they were
Absolutely.
all drawn together through Charlene Johnson. Her son is Brock Johnson on Instagram, and that's how I met them. Like I just wanted his
Awesome.
help with Instagram, and then I was like, "Who's this cool lady? Oh, that's his mom. Wow, she looks really young." And then I started following her, and then oh my God, there's an event in Vegas, right? So just understanding my wonderful audience that nothing actually ever replaces in person. Like we were built for
Yeah,
in person interaction, and it's
100%.
absolutely vital. It doesn't really matter where you are. I'm going to stand on the soapbox, unless maybe you're in Alaska, which is a very, very small population. Okay. But for most of us, we're not in Alaska.
Yeah.
You can, I bet you, even because I know someone who's a somatics practitioner who's moving back to Alaska. So you could find her, get me in touch with me, and I'll put you in touch with her. She's moving back there. You can find your community in person. Just make sure you take care of yourself first so then you can know intuitively if it's the right community for you and or you need to start your own. That's really the biggest thing.
No, I love that. I also think just a sort of note on community, it's not about numbers either, right? So online, we're so obsessed with like, oh, how many followers and subscribers and likes and click rates and all this crap. And yeah, I mean, it sort of adds up, right? But like you said, it's like being in person is irreplaceable, right? So even if it's this sense of like having a close friend or a close couple friends or saying hi to your neighbor, let's just start there. You know what I mean? Let's just start saying hi to our neighbor. Like we don't even do that. It's crazy. We
We
don't even know our
don't.
neighbors.
We
You
don't know our
know?
neighbors. We
It's
don't.
crazy.
Someone rings the doorbell. I'm taking a dive to the floor in case they
Yeah.
see me through the
I
window.
know, right?
I'm
Me
like, who's
too.
that?
Right.
Who's
Right, right. Trying to
like
sell me something. I know.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, we have a
Yeah.
lot of people that they're Mormon in my neighborhood, so they're actually really
Well,
knocking on
there
doors.
you go. Right, there you go. Trying to sell you something. Yeah, right.
And
Right.
I don't mind having conversations with them, but it's a
Gotcha.
long conversation because
Yeah.
they're very willing to speak about their perspective and not so willing to discuss mine.
Yep.
So it's
I
a long
love that, right?
conversation when
Yeah.
I open the
That's not
door.
active listening.
It's their way of life, and that's okay for them. Just not necessarily for me and my people.
Yeah. Yep.
I think the biggest thing is besides them finding you on your podcast, Tony. What are some other ways that they can follow you or be in your community?
Yeah, no, absolutely, Jenny. So if any of this resonated with listeners today where you're frustrated at work, you can head on over to worksucksbutilikeit.com/quiz. And to me, in order to get to a destination, we have to know where we are, right? Now, this sounds so ridiculous, but we need to know where we are to be able to take the next step. And that quiz is to help assess where you are with respect to the flow channel to help your work flow so you're more successful and get to that optimal peak performance that we were talking about earlier in the show.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to go take that quiz now.
Awesome.
All right. And now, audience members, don't forget you always have your free monthly class with me at Move and Bloom. Is it Move and Bloom? No, it's Move to Bloom. Oh my gosh, Tony.
It's all
I
right.
was so excited by this conversation. I lost my own gift to the audience. Go to movetobloom.com for your free class every month. Now, Tony, one last thing before I let you go, because I know you're very busy and I'm
No,
so
no.
excited to get you on this particular call today. Okay, what is one thing, or maybe two things, you could suggest for us to avoid burnout?
To avoid burnout, I think really taking, being appreciative of the things that you've done. right? I think burnout results from the expectation of what we don't have still. So one of the things that I do every day with my brother, I don't even know how many years we've been doing this now. My brother's 4 years younger than me, by the way. And we have been texting each other three things at night about what we're appreciative for the day, right? So I will say tonight, I was on Jenny's podcast, I had dinner with my girlfriend and I took a nap, right? Those are the three things. Now, there were a lot of other things that happened, right? But I think just start with those simple wins because why? The brain feeds off what you give it, right? Just how we give food to nourish our body, it's important to give the mind these positive things. If we're giving it negative things, then we're probably going to burn out, right? But if we give it these positive things, that's going to energize us to be like, hey, I did some cool stuff. I can wake up and do some more cool stuff.
I really appreciate that reminder, Tony. That really, because gratitude will take us much, much further than we even
Absolutely.
understand, right?
Absolutely.
Aw, okay. Yeah, my gratitude will include having Tony on my podcast today.
Love it. What's your two other ones, Jenny? I'm going to hold you accountable. That was your one. What are your two
Yeah,
other things you're
what
grateful for
happened
today?
today? I got to go grocery shopping with my daughter at
Love it.
the Chinese uh, Chinatown here that we have.
Oh, I love that.
And
You guys
what's
pick
the
up
other
any
one?
tamarind?
Sorry?
Did you pick up any tamarind? Do you like tamarind?
No,
No?
no,
I love
no, we
tamarind.
didn't. They're so cute. There was tamarind there. We picked up
Yeah.
like Chinese broccoli.
Oh, right on. Okay.
Like when you
Yeah.
just audience members, if you have a local like Chinese market or Asian market in your neighborhood, go there for your groceries because the spices are less expensive there, and the produce, which is really why you're there, is really really well priced and very healthy looking. Because we already shop at local supermarkets. Like here we have
Mm,
Whole Foods and
right. These chains.
Sprouts, and what's the other one? I call all the stores nicknames that aren't necessarily PG, so can't name the one that's the real name because I only have the nickname in my head that's
Yeah, right. The
not
rated
PG.
R version. I gotcha. Yeah.
Yes, yes. When you're old, you start having like little short names for things because you can't quite remember the real name. Anywho, we go there for shopping because as you age, we tend to like the salads that we used to take for granted. We're not really able to digest them as well, Tony. Just so
Mm,
you know. So for me, being of Asian descent, I've moved more towards like cooked veggies than salads.
gotcha.
My
Yeah,
body just
gotcha.
detests salads. So just so unless you're like non-Asian, you can have salads when you're old.
That's funny. So,
Isn't that
Jenny, you
funny?
had one more thing. So, you had the podcast, you had
Hmm.
shopping with your daughter. What's that third thing you're appreciative of today?
I got 7 hours of sleep. That's like a huge
Oh,
milestone for me. That's
love
big
that.
for being older.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for
Good.
holding me accountable to
Absolutely.
naming
That's
three
all
things,
right. That's
Tony.
what it
Wait,
is.
whose podcast is this? Yours or mine? It's yours.
It's shared. It's a
It's shared, I
shared
know. So
conversation.
I'll be on your next podcast recording for your other
You
podcast.
will. Yep. We'll keep this conversation going for sure.
Sounds good. All right, audience
But
members, we're gonna thank Tony. You have to come back, okay? You're just gonna have to
absolutely.
come back. I
You'll
think
be
we have
back on
to.
my show too, so we'll keep it going. Don't worry.
I'm totally enjoying this. He's like my
No.
adopted family. He doesn't know it yet.
Thank you.
All right, my friends, we will see you next time. Thank you so much for coming, and Tony, we will see you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye bye. Thanks for listening to the Dance to Heal podcast with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of inspiring triumph and learn more ways that you can heal yourself. To work with me and continue your journey, visit danceandheal.com. Are you ready to move?